Have you ever wondered whether the very strategy you trust to reclaim your health might quietly be working against you? For many people, crossing the threshold of 40, intermittent fasting feels like a beacon of control in a body that suddenly seems less predictable. You tighten your eating window, skip breakfast, push through hunger, and tell yourself that discipline is the answer. The scale may move, your waistline may shrink, and your willpower feels stronger than ever. But beneath that surface success, a deeper question lingers, especially in midlife. Is intermittent fasting helping your hormones or quietly pushing them towards stress overload? Intermittent fasting. After 40, hormone boost or stress overload is not just a catchy phrase, it is a critical crossroads that millions of adults face as their physiology begins to shift. After 40, the body is no longer operating with the same hormonal rhythm it once had. Estrogen and progesterone fluctuate more dramatically in women, testosterone gradually declines in men, and both sexes experience subtle changes in thyroid efficiency and stress resilience. Insulin sensitivity may become less forgiving, sleep may grow lighter, and recovery from intense workouts may take longer than it used to. These changes are not signs of weakness. They are signals that the internal environment is evolving. And when you introduce fasting into that evolving system, you are no longer pulling a simple lever. You are pressing on a complex network of hormonal responses. Fasting can absolutely improve insulin sensitivity, allowing your cells to respond more efficiently to glucose and reducing the metabolic chaos that often creeps in during midlife. It can encourage the body to tap into stored fat, supporting weight loss when stubborn pounds seem resistant to every other effort. For some, it restores a sense of metabolic flexibility that feels empowering and liberating. Yet the same fasting window that sharpens insulin control can also elevate cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, especially when life already feels demanding. Cortisol is not the enemy. It is a survival ally designed to mobilize energy when food is scarce or danger is near. But when fasting becomes aggressive and prolonged in a season of hormonal transition, cortisol can rise higher and stay elevated longer than intended. Over time, that persistent stress signal may begin to suppress thyroid hormone conversion, subtly slowing metabolism instead of accelerating it. It may influence sex hormone balance, contributing to irregular cycles, low libido, or unexplained fatigue. This is where the story becomes more nuanced, and perhaps more unsettling. The very practice that promises clarity and control can, under certain conditions, whisper stress into a system already navigating change. Midlife is not a battlefield to be conquered through harsher discipline. It is a landscape that demands deeper awareness. The question is not whether fasting is good or bad. The question is whether your current approach aligns with the hormonal reality of your body after 40. And that is where curiosity must replace rigidity. As we move forward, we will unravel how cortisol truly behaves during fasting after 40, how thyroid hormones respond to prolonged caloric gaps, and why men and women often experience dramatically different outcomes. But before you assume you know the answer, consider this. What if the key is not fasting harder, but fasting smarter, in harmony with the rhythms that now define your biology? We are about to explore that possibility together, and what you discover may challenge everything you thought you understood about discipline, metabolism, and aging. It may reveal that strength after 40 is not measured by how long you can endure hunger, but by how wisely you can support your hormones while still pursuing transformation. Because in this stage of life, intelligence must guide intensity. And what happens next might surprise you. The truth is waiting beneath the surface, and it demands your full attention. Stay with me as we uncover it, right here, right now. As the layers begin to unfold, the conversation grows more intricate, and perhaps more uncomfortable. After 40, the body does not simply respond to fasting as it did in youth. It negotiates, it evaluates, it protects. When you shorten your eating window, your brain interprets that signal through the lens of survival, and one of the first messengers it sends into circulation is cortisol. In small, strategic bursts, cortisol is useful. It liberates stored energy, sharpens focus, and helps maintain blood sugar during periods without food. But midlife often carries invisible burdens: career pressure, aging parents, financial responsibility, disrupted sleep, and the quiet psychological weight of change. When fasting is layered on top of chronic stress, cortisol may climb higher than expected, lingering long after the fast has ended. Elevated cortisol can interfere with thyroid hormone conversion, particularly the transformation of T4 into the more metabolically active T3. When that conversion slows, the body may experience cold intolerance, hair thinning, fatigue, and stubborn fat retention, even in the presence of disciplined fasting. What once felt like a metabolic advantage can begin to feel like resistance. And this is where many people double down. They extend the fasting window further. They cut calories more aggressively. They push through exhaustion, believing that more intensity will break the plateau. Yet sometimes the plateau is not a failure of willpower. It is a signal from a body protecting itself. The suspense lies here. What if the very stress response meant to help you survive is now quietly suppressing the hormones that regulate your metabolism? For women, the dynamic can be even more delicate. As estrogen fluctuates during perimenopause and declines after menopause, sensitivity to stress hormones often increases. Aggressive fasting protocols may disrupt menstrual regularity in some, intensify hot flashes, or amplify mood swings. In men, declining testosterone combined with elevated cortisol can create a hormonal tug-of-war, influencing muscle retention, motivation, and recovery. The difference in how men and women respond is not about strength or weakness. It is about biological design. Understanding that design becomes the turning point. Intermittent fasting can still improve insulin sensitivity after 40, and in many cases, it does. When implemented thoughtfully, shorter fasting windows of 12 to 14 hours may stabilize blood sugar without provoking excessive stress. Circadian-aligned eating, consuming most calories earlier in the day when insulin sensitivity is naturally higher, can harmonize with the body's internal clock rather than fighting against it. Protein-first meal strategies can preserve lean muscle mass, which becomes increasingly critical as age-related muscle loss accelerates. Strength training, rather than endless cardio, signals the body to maintain metabolic tissue and supports testosterone and growth hormone balance. Adequate sleep, often overlooked, becomes a cornerstone. Without it, cortisol remains elevated, and no fasting strategy can compensate. The suspense deepens when we recognize that fasting itself is not the villain nor the hero. It is a tool. In the right hands, at the right intensity, with the right timing, it can enhance metabolic flexibility and reduce inflammation. In the wrong context, it can amplify stress and slow the very progress you seek. Signs that fasting may be increasing hormonal stress include persistent fatigue, disrupted sleep, irritability, stalled weight loss despite strict adherence, loss of menstrual regularity, decreased libido, and heightened anxiety. These signals are not weaknesses. They are intelligence from within. And here is the pivotal realization. After 40, success is no longer about extreme protocols, but about strategic alignment. The body rewards balance more than bravado. It responds to consistency more than punishment. When you begin to view fasting as one instrument in a broader symphony of nutrition, movement, and recovery, the fear of choosing wrong begins to dissolve. Instead, you become an investigator of your own physiology, adjusting the tempo rather than abandoning the melody. The deeper truth emerging is that hormonal resilience is not built through deprivation alone. It is built through nourishment, rest, and calculated stress that strengthens rather than overwhelms. The next layer will reveal who benefits most from fasting, who should approach it cautiously, and how to design a plan that supports longevity instead of silently undermining it. The answer is closer than you think, and it may redefine how you approach every health decision from this point forward. We are about to explore that possibility together, and what you discover may challenge everything you thought you understood about discipline, metabolism, and aging. It may reveal that strength after 40 is not measured by how long you can endure hunger, but by how wisely you can support your hormones while still pursuing transformation. Because in this stage of life, intelligence must guide intensity, and what happens next might surprise you. The truth is waiting beneath the surface, and it demands your full attention. Stay with me as we uncover it. Right here, right now. Now we arrive at the deeper truth, the place where clarity replaces confusion. The real question is not whether intermittent fasting works, but for whom, under what conditions, and at what cost. After 40, physiology becomes more individualized than ever before. Two people can follow the same fasting schedule and experience completely different outcomes. One may feel energized, mentally sharp, and metabolically efficient. The other may feel depleted, anxious, and hormonally unsettled. The difference is not discipline, it is context. Those who tend to benefit most from fasting after 40 are individuals with stable sleep patterns, manageable stress levels, preserved muscle mass, and relatively balanced thyroid and sex hormones. When insulin resistance is present, moderate fasting can improve glucose control and reduce visceral fat, which in turn lowers inflammatory burden. In this setting, fasting becomes a metabolic ally rather than a stress amplifier. But for individuals already navigating chronic stress, poor sleep, adrenal strain, thyroid dysfunction, or significant hormonal fluctuations, aggressive fasting protocols may compound the load. The body does not separate emotional stress from nutritional stress. It tallies both. And when the total burden exceeds resilience, the system shifts into protection mode. That protection can look like slowed metabolism, stubborn fat retention, mood instability, or disrupted hormonal signaling. Intermittent fasting. After 40, hormone boost or stress overload becomes more than a debate. It becomes a mirror reflecting how well your strategy aligns with your biology. The empowering realization is that you are not required to choose extremes. You can design a hormone-friendly approach that respects midlife physiology. Shorter fasting windows, such as 12 to 14 hours, often provide metabolic benefits without excessively elevating cortisol. Aligning meals with daylight hours supports circadian rhythm and optimizes insulin sensitivity. Breaking the fast with adequate protein signals, muscle preservation, and stabilizes blood sugar. Incorporating strength training 2 to 4 times per week communicates to the body that lean tissue is essential, reducing the likelihood of muscle loss that often accompanies prolonged caloric restriction. Prioritizing sleep and stress management through breathwork, sunlight exposure, and intentional recovery practices lowers baseline cortisol, making fasting less disruptive. This is not about abandoning discipline. It is about refining it. It is about understanding that after 40, wisdom must lead willpower. The body you inhabit now carries decades of experience, adaptation, and cumulative stress. It deserves strategy, not punishment. The suspense that once surrounded fasting dissolves when you recognize that flexibility is strength. You can experiment with gentle fasting and monitor your energy, mood, sleep quality, menstrual regularity if applicable, libido, and workout performance. You can adjust based on feedback rather than forcing compliance. If signs of hormonal stress appear, you can shorten the fasting window, increase protein intake, reduce training intensity temporarily, or pause fasting altogether. There is no failure in recalibration. There is only information guiding optimization. The ultimate goal is not to win a contest of endurance against hunger. The goal is longevity, vitality, and metabolic resilience that carries you confidently into the decades ahead. Midlife is not a decline. It is a transition into a phase that rewards precision. When you align fasting with your hormonal reality instead of fighting it, you reclaim control without sacrificing balance. You move from rigid dieting culture into strategic self-leadership. That shift is powerful. That shift is sustainable. And that shift transforms intermittent fasting from a blunt instrument into a tailored tool. As you reflect on your own experience, consider whether your current approach energizes you or exhausts you. Consider whether your body feels supported or strained. Then choose the path that honors long-term health over short-term intensity. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early. The answer is closer than you think, and it may redefine how you approach every health decision from this point forward. We are about to explore that possibility together, and what you discover may challenge everything you thought you understood about discipline, metabolism, and aging. It may reveal that strength after 40 is not measured by how long you can endure hunger, but by how wisely you can support your hormones while still pursuing transformation. Because in this stage of life, intelligence must guide intensity, and what happens next might surprise you. The truth is waiting beneath the surface, and it demands your full attention. Stay with me as we uncover it, right here, right now.